There we go. How's everybody doing? Happy Friday. Today's July 9th. Hope everyone survived the bear market sell-off of July 2021. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How is everybody doing? Our RLT team is packing up this weekend and heading to Lake Tahoe for the week. We're doing our live retreat. This coming kickoff dinner Sunday night, and then the party gets started Monday morning. Yep. Hello, Justin. Hello, Ria, Ariel, Robin. Hello, good afternoon. Hector, what's up? So we're super excited about Lake Tahoe, one of my favorite places of all time to go in the US. Super, super excited about it. And it's going to be a good time. Now, for those of you who've never been to a live retreat, we are sold out on the in-person retreat. However, we do have a live stream option. So for those of you way down here, we are sold out, but for those of you who want to watch the live stream, it's $250 and you're able to kind of watch live. We do have video on demand, which basically just means recordings. That is an option if you're interested in doing that. I will post the link here into the chat pane. If you have never kind of went to a live retreat, maybe you're landlocked in Canada or wherever you are, if you can't actually physically get away, maybe you have one of those things called the job and you just can't get away for whatever reason. It's the next best thing. And I'm going to show you guys our little agenda here. This is a great example of the types of things we go over live in person at a retreat. So Edward, the people that's going live do have access to the live stream. Yes, that is correct. Hector, yeah, man, we'll miss you. Good to hang out with you a little bit in Miami. Jonathan, long-time listener, first-time retreater. Yeah, so usually what we do is we kick off with a dinner, and we have a dinner here, a Mexican restaurant to kick things off. Of course, that sets Mexican food on day one, sets the mood for the rest of the week. I'm kidding. But we basically just go through some of our basic intro classes in the first few days. So intro to candlesticks. We set up our indicators, our templates on the screen. I talk about Momo. We talk about intro to day trading and day trading in the late afternoon, just some of the basic intro stuff, intro to options the first several days. We build a trading plan, so everyone walks out with a basic trading plan. We back trade some of our strategies that we've taught, and then we go from there. And so that is kind of the basics of how the retreats kick off. We do have like a 10K run. For those of you who are interested in running or jogging or walking, we're going to do like a trail run this time up through the mountains and of course around the lake a little bit, not around the whole lake, but part of the lake. And we talk about life, we talk about trading, we talk about just real stuff. And we do have a couple of guest speakers. We have several of our moderators who will be there presenting as well. So we have breakout rooms, selling insurance on your favorite stocks. Tony Pollock talking about buying the dip. Dustin Drummond talking about using collars, which if you're not familiar with a collar, one of my favorite things to do. And that is basically locking in gains without actually selling stock. Most people have a hard time getting their mind around that one. And then on Thursday, we have like a half day where we have free time, and we're basically setting up for our dinner, which is our fundraiser dinner for our Real Life Foundation, which is our nonprofit that we started back in February. And I remember being on a private island with Jeremy in January of this year, and we were asked what one thing would we, if we had the ability to change, what one travesty or what in the world would we want to impact? And I said that I wanted to reduce or eliminate human trafficking. And so we talked about that in January. And by February, we had a nonprofit up and running. And by March, we had raised $39,000 on our first fundraiser dinner. Some of you know we did raise money for Operation Underground Railroad, and we're doing that again. They run military operations to find and rescue kids who are being trafficked. And some of the stories you hear are pretty hard to hear, just the human suffering that people go through just to make a dollar, or will put other people through to make a dollar. But anyways, that's I have 2 teenage daughters myself, so it kind of hits close to home. And then on Friday, we talk about life. We have a recap. We do an Ask Me Anything. And yeah, that's the retreat. It's super fun. We have lots of dinners planned. We're going to be going to the beach. We do have like barbecue on the beach planned for Tuesday. So super excited about that. Hopefully some of you, if you've never made it, can join us. Join us at the next one that we do. This is the last one of the year that we're doing. But yeah, some of you who've not yet gone, come on out. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the markets. Welcome to all-time highs. What's funny is yesterday, white candle gapping down, which is a pretty gnarly gap. Absolutely. And it got bought up, and here we are at all-time highs. Now, what does that tell you guys? When you see this, when you wake up, like I looked at my account before the market opened, and it was down maybe 12R unrealized, the morning of, right? And what does that tell you? How are you guys feeling when you're at all-time highs and then it has this, it's kind of a gnarly gap down, right? Not only did it, it kind of cleared some of this level, but the gap itself went below the low of the previous day. How do you guys feel when you see that? Hector said, finally, we get some kind of a sell-off. Yeah. And it didn't take long. And then you guys know what happened. Being down, many R's at the open, I was only down like 0.4 R's on the day by the time yesterday was done. And then today plus 6 R. So literally doing nothing, just waiting, letting the plan run itself, not 4 R, 0.4 R, letting the trades work out. Yes, some of, there was a few trades that got stopped out, of course, but there was still plenty that worked out and went higher. So yeah, that is a great testament to follow the plan. Don't be emotional, right? I'm sure most people wanted to short right here at the open, thinking we're going to go to 0. And that kind of looked like a little too obvious of a play, at least in my mind. So I did nothing. And when there's nothing to do nothing. And that's what I did. And I was patient, and I got paid. Yep. Let's see. Had to close bull put spread for a loss. Yeah, that does happen sometimes. Absolutely, depending on which stock you're in. Lance, were you in SPY, or were you in a specific stock they had that on? Edward wants to be like Hector when he grows up. Okay, so you're in SPX, you're in the index itself. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. You guys have to follow the plan. Don't do anything emotional, because this will bring out emotions in people. When you wake up and you see negative 12R in your account, and I have a sizable R, it's not $300. When you see a negative 12R unrealized before the market opens, the fear is going to come in, and it's going to say, oh my gosh, by the end of the day, it's going to go down to 30R or 35R or something ridiculous. And you want to lock in all your gains. Well, that's the tempting thing to do, is go to cash. And that's the tractor beam, right? You guys have heard Jeremy talk about tractor beam, where you don't have to do that. Just like get control of your emotions. It's going to be okay. Follow the plan. If you get stopped out, you get stopped out, right? It is what it is. And panicking, being emotional doesn't really change anything. It just makes it more intense in your mind. So yeah, welcome to all-time highs on SPY. If we were to take a quick peek at the weekly chart, I mean, geez, almost every week here, the past several weeks, making new all-time highs. So I don't know that it's going to continue forever. I do think we'll get a little bit more of a pullback at some point before we continue higher. But But yeah, execute the plan, execute, execute, execute. Okay, so let's take a look quickly at the Qs, same type of thing, gap down, got bought up, and then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we closed on Wednesday at 360.95. Today we're at 361.01. So this is the highest close that we've ever had on the Qs, just by a few pennies, by 6 pennies. Yeah. So welcome to all-time highs again here on the Qs. IWM is a little bit different. IDM's a little, I'm sorry, IWM is a little bit on the struggle bus, not quite hitting all-time highs. The highest close was up here, and it's been several months back up in March. So same type of thing where he gapped down, got bought up, and went higher on the IWM. The DIA, welcome to all-time highs. Welcome to all-time highs. And what's interesting is that if you look at some of these moving averages, they kind of bounced off perfectly, and we got a signal here to enter our 10 EMA strategy. So I'm not going to do that here at all-time highs. I prefer this type of some kind of a pullback first, but let's jump into our list and let's go through this. Edward said he needs Edward and Hector. You guys are all up in Roblox. Yep. So not sure where you got in, what your strategy was. Here we got a signal to jump in here. This one would not have worked, but this one could have made some R's on this, depending on where you entered and exited and put your stops. But yeah, Roblox is a new up and coming fairly new IPO, came out a few months ago. So all right, let's jump into Roku. So Roku, I do have a significant position on Roku already. And just last week, I set up a collar here and here. So I sold a covered call and I bought a protective put on this day. Now, how did I know to do it on that day? I really didn't. It just happened to be a recent all-time high. Not all-time highs, but relative to a few 4 or 5 months. And so what I like to do is wait for nice up days, and then I basically sell a covered call, which brings in some cashola. So I get a credit for that, and I use that to buy a protective put. And what that does for me is it basically locks in gains without actually selling my shares. And on this day here, yesterday when we gapped up, this collar was up very, very nicely. And so here, what happens is, let's say I collect $7 here, but I spend $9 here. I'm basically out of pocket $2 a share, or $200 per contract. And so I could basically get cheap or almost, we'll say free or almost free insurance. I remember going on my senior trip to Mexico, and all the local street vendors they didn't know very much English, and they would, instead of saying cheap, they would say almost free. So almost free. I had almost free insurance here, just spending a few dollars per share to get protection. And you guys will see here from there down to the low of yesterday, that was worth some serious coinage just because of the gap down. So I like to keep the collars on regardless, just kind of keep my gains in place. And I typically don't exit those early. There's a whole reason and strategy behind when to exit early, but typically that's what I do, and that's on Roku. If we were to look at it on a little bit shorter time frame, a little bit shorter moving averages, you'll see that we did get a signal today at the close to buy some Roku. And I'm not going to take that trade because I already have some nice shares of Roku already. However, if you wanted to do that, I would set up something like this. I'm not going to make this official trade because I take my own official trades, but I'm not going to take this because I already have a bunch of Roku. But it would be something like this. And this signal here is a 10 EMA. And so the strategy basically says, okay, we're going to close below. So on this day right here, we closed below our 10 EMA, which is our blue line right here. We closed below it on Wednesday. And we're looking for the next day to close above. And for those of you who know, yesterday we actually did not close above. So then we reevaluate and we say, okay, did we close below on Thursday, which would be right here? And the answer is yes, we did close below that line. Just zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see we did close below that line. Now we did not breach it, which happened on this day, which is fine. The candle breached the 50, I'm sorry, the 10 exponential moving average here. It did not close, I'm sorry, here breached it. This did not, we did still close below. And then you guys know kind of what happened today. We closed above. And so what we're looking for is where would we put a stop? And our stop would basically be a recent U-turn. You guys can see here how ROKU sold off what, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row and made it down to this low and then continued higher. So this was a little bit of a pivot point, a little bit of a U-turn in the price action. So we want to set our stop a little bit below that level. So that is ROKU. Yeah, so pyramiding down on, we did do that earlier in the year, back in, I guess, a few months ago. I didn't get all the shares that I wanted, but I did get some good 70% of what I wanted. So yeah, that's ROKU. Anyone type of one in chat pane if you're in ROKU, if you like ROKU long-term. And while you guys are doing that, let's take a peek at the time capsule, which, as you guys know, has a little bit of ROKU in it. And we're kind of flat on the week. It was down a little bit yesterday, up today, kind of hanging around this 20% return since into mid-December last year. So just chopping around, just kind of hanging out, nothing to write home about. But that's ROKU. And if we were to look at it on a weekly chart, I got a lot of stuff going on my charts. Let's look at it that way. Weekly chart. Yeah. I like it. I like it. Doesn't necessarily mean that you should go all in right away. I prefer pyramiding and getting in little pieces, buying pieces on the way down for in like retirement accounts is a great way to do it. To have some open orders at different levels, wait for the price action to come to you. Never chase price action higher. Somebody somewhere was the guy who bought that top of that candle right there. Somebody was that guy, and yet to get back to that level. It might happen next week, but you never want to buy at highs or relative highs. It's not quite officially all-time highs, which is over here back in mid-February. But that's what I have on ROKU. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, so it's a little, yeah, so it's crossing. So I think it's a good spot to get in on ROKU. Yep. All right, next up is Square. Does anyone know? I remember Square announcing that you can now trade crypto in Square. And I'm sorry, I'm misspeaking, in PayPal rather. You can trade crypto now in PayPal. I'm trying to remember when that announcement was made. I think was that early last year? When was that? Jonathan Thaxton, great question. Do you have a sell price target for ROKU or just hedge for long term? I don't have a target for ROKU. I plan to hold on to it long term. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe $2,000. Currently at 430. It's got a little ways to go. Square's making a crypto hard wallet. Nice. You can do it in Cash App as well. Nice. Square is one of those companies that it's not in my time capsule, but it's one that I like. Look at this, Robert. The one thing Square doesn't have in its favor is it doesn't have super nice margins, kind of measly. But if you look at this, 266% growth. Robert, look at this. Look at the PS below 10. Yeah. So this is not super attractive, but this is. This just means that for $100 of revenue, it costs them $76. So you take $100 of revenue, it costs $76 is what you would call or considered cost of goods, like their costs, their expenses. And so then you have $24 or 24% left, and that's gross margin. And so you have salaries, you have marketing expense, you have a bunch of other things that come out of this small 24%. So not super attractive, but transactional credit card processing is historically low. Yep, as Robert Falco was saying, high volume, low margin, like a lot of retail is as well. But yeah, looks solid, and they are profitable too. So having that kind of growth with 358 million profits, not bad. I'm sorry, with 13.17 billion in sales. How'd you guys like to own a business that had 13 billion in sales with 266% sales quarter over quarter? Yes, please. Pull up to the second window, please. Okay, that is Square. And you will notice, I did notice this earlier. Let's look at the long term. Yeah, okay. So I did notice these two candles that came in. Does anyone notice anything unique about the shape of those candles? It starts with an H and it ends with an hammer. Does anyone notice that? It's not quite a perfect like downtrend reversal, not quite a perfect pattern, but it is definitely, these are definitely hammer-ish candles. Yep. Looks solid. I like Square. All right, next up is Shopify. Type a 1 into your into the chat pane if you are in Shopify. I've got a few shares of Shopify. You guys see over here. Kind of took a couple bites of it, got bit into the apple. Not apple, but bit into it, and it did hang out here at the 107 moving average for a little bit, and it looks like it's consolidating a little bit. Maybe a consolidate, shops around, maybe makes a lower push and then a continuation higher. So I'm very bullish on Shopify. Very, very bullish on Shopify. Does not mean go buy it all right now. Does not mean that. You need to wait for a good signal, and look at that. Look at that. Did we get a signal? We did. Actually, would not take that personally. I would wait for more of a pullback like this from recent highs. This is up close. I would wait for a little bit more of a pullback and then a trigger like that on Shopify. So nothing to do there. I'm up, we'll just say very, very nicely on Shopify. Craig Levine. Yeah, you got 42% gains. Yep. Was that February? I was thinking it was March, early March, Craig, when you came over here. Somewhere in here, we set up pyramids. Yep. Nice. Great job on practicing that patience muscle. Yeah, early March. Yep. Okay, next up is Twilio. Twilio looks like it's chopping around, just hanging out. Most of these stocks, you'll see that they gapped down previously yesterday and kind of got bought up back to kind of where they were the previous at the end of the day on Wednesday. So just kind of hanging out, chilling. The thing that most people noticed on even these indexes is that the sell-off and kind of the bear market of July was on a little bit of high volume, but not tons of high volume, just a smidge. And even here on Twilio, you'll see that just a little, not really anything even noticeable, right, on volume. So just hanging out, chopping around on Twilio. You'll see that yesterday did make a little bit of an indecision, a little bit of a, what kind of candle is that, team? High wave. If you said high wave, you'd be correct. High wave candle, which represents indecision. And the way to play that would be with like a bracket order or a stop limit order, where you're putting something like this, you're putting a stop limit. The price is already gone higher. So now if you're not in it, we would use a limit order and stop market, something like that. And price is already above our buy zone, but this is kind of implying with this type of order, with a limit buy order, that we're going to get a little bit of a pullback and then a push continuation higher. The only thing you need to be mindful of is this guy right here, which is earnings coming up in just a few weeks. So if you need to get in and out, you need to get in and out quickly. Don't sit on that too long unless you want to go, roll the dice on whatever earnings they have, good or bad. And that is Twilio. And we did get a signal, I believe, on this. Yep. Right at the close. Right on time. Yep. Got my alert. The trend is changing. So something to think about if you're not in. Automation at the close probably has open orders waiting to get filled. So yeah, that's Twilio. Let's see. Can we go over OKTA? I will put that on the list, my friend. Let's do it. All right, got on the list. Let's move this up a little bit though. Lance, why do I think it'll pull back more? On which stock was, I apologize, which stock was that on that you're asking on Twilio? Twilio, yeah. So a lot of stocks, I've just noticed this, but a lot of stocks that kind of hit their head here, they typically make like it's almost like a pump fake where they'll make a new low relative to where they've been consolidating and then continue higher, basically to shake out anybody who's what is Wall Street best called paper hands, any paper hands, and then continue higher. So anyone who doesn't have like the willpower, the holding power, I don't know why it does that. I've noticed that. Has anyone else noticed that before? It's kind of like a punch to the face. It's kind of like the obvious move where people say, I'm going to set my stop right here and it's going to go below just for a little bit and then continue higher. Yeah, people do trail their stops. Yeah. Single ply hands, single ply. Very specific type of paper hands, single ply. That's so funny. You guys. Robert Falco. Okay. And that's Twilio. Next up is Elastic. I did get a caller in on this week as well. I'm not sure if you guys are in Elastic, but same type of strategy where I'm locking in my gains without actually selling. I think I have 6R on this that I locked in. So collected some cash right here, gave someone else the right to take it away at 160. So I'm basically giving away anything above 160. Any gainage above that, I'm collecting some cash and I'm spending it on a protective put, an aggressive put. At this moment, my collar is a little bit red. However, it costs little to nothing. And if it expires up here in this area, if the collar expires and the price action is here, then it just kind of expires worthless. And I spent little to nothing to lock in that gain. However, if it goes much lower, this becomes where the insurance policy, so to speak, that I have at the 145 level becomes worth some serious coinage. So imagine having an insurance policy that you got super cheap, or well, just say super cheap, and then an earthquake happens. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I had that, which, by the way, there was a small earthquake in Lake Tahoe last night. For those of you who are interested in going to Lake Tahoe, we nothing major, just boulders on the road, no big deal. But that's why I have an Elastic. So in that last price, said the stop limit would only trigger if it comes back from any pullback. Which stock we're talking about, Lance? Jonathan, California is not going to fall off tail. Twilio, right. Okay, let me reread your question. So in the last bracket setup, the stop limit would trigger only if it comes back from any pullback. So kind of. So the way that this works is like on, if you set up a bracket order on this, just pretend that this is where we were. I know it's already higher, but imagine that this is your, like your trade. You're going to set up maybe a stop market order down here and then a stop limit here. What this assumes is that the price action is going to kind of push through this level, and then and only then if it goes higher will you get triggered. What I'm suggesting is, since it's already higher, since the price action is already above that level, don't use a stop limit, just use a limit buy. You can't really, like a stop limit assumes that it's going to go higher first. In this case, it's already gone above your level. So if you use a limit buy, it's waiting for a pullback first and then a continuation higher. Now, this is a little bit of an aggressive setup, team. It's basically just like one candle move. It could, there's a lot of things that could happen. This stock, as you guys can see, even on this day, can make some pretty aggressive moves in a single day. So just keep that in mind. I'm not making that an official trade. I'm just saying if you wanted to play something on TWLO, you could do that. Yep. Okay. Next, if we go back here, elastic, a lot of these same type of things, gaps down, gets bought up, and we're back higher than we were on Wednesday at the close. So chopping around a little bit again. I think some of these might punch in the kind of punch in the face, go a little bit lower, and then continue first. That's just my experience. That's typically what a lot of people do, is have stops down here. All those paper hands need to get taken out and then push higher. So that is elastic. If we were to look at it on our intraday time frame here, we got a signal to buy way up here, which I don't think that's all-time highs. Yeah, that's not all-time highs, but yeah, I'm in. I got a lot of shares. Otherwise, I probably would wait on that myself. But I'm already in shares, so I don't need any more. Got a lot. Next is Pinterest, your favorite social media company. Again, gap down, gets bought up. Didn't quite recover from where we were Wednesday, but I do like this on. I do like this. So if we were to use our 10 EMA strategy and we were to close maybe on Monday above this blue line, so close up here above this, we would get our little green arrow that would show up to say to buy. And if you look, it is kind of making kind of revisiting some of these previous peaks, this previous resistance. So if you were to get into that, it would probably bounce off that a little bit and then continue higher. If it makes a nice push higher, maybe break out all-time highs, we'll see what happens on that. But it has not made a new all-time high since February 16th. So that's been some months, definitely some months and some weeks before it's made some new highs. So again, this is just consolidating, and you guys can see when I was talking about on elastic and some of these other stocks, if you guys can see here, if I was to go back in time and look at something like this, you guys can see here where not only does it kind of revisit this low over here, but it kind of punches you in the face a little bit, goes a little lower, and then what happens is then it goes higher. And a lot of people think, oh, it's making new lows and shorten your lows, but you want to shorten your highs so that you can ride it down. You don't want to short, on the, unless you're using a different strategy. But that's the idea. Is it made, you guys can see the lows that it made over here back in mid-March, early March. It made some same lows and then actually went lower first before it continues higher. And that's the type of pattern or movement that I'm not really pattern, but that type of movement is kind of what I'm referring to. Is it does tend to punch you in the face before putting some money in your wallet. So just be mindful of that. Boom, and there we are today. Let's take a look at the long-term moving averages. Yeah, looks healthy to me. The 100 and 200, some moving average look healthy. There's only a couple stocks that are on here that which are FSLY and TWLO that are still a little bit of a dumpster fire where they're below our 200 moving average. They've been down there. Our moving averages are inverted. The long-term 200 and 100 moving average are inverted where the 200 is above the 100, and those are I have positions in both, but they're kind of dumpster fire still. So yep, we did take an official trade on Beyond Meat last week, and you'll see that our stop is a little bit too tight. It may roll over and go a little bit lower, but we got stopped out of that. Nice try on that on Beyond Meat. Just did not work kind of as expected, and that's okay. We gotta, not all trades work out. But yeah, nothing else to do there. You will see that we did kind of make an inside day candle today where the high and low of yesterday, we're sitting kind of inside the scope of yesterday's candle. So we might make a new low, continue higher. We'll see what happens. I don't have anything set up on that. Nothing. I mean, may take a little bit of time before I get back into Beyond Meat. Next is DDOG. Again, flirting near some highs, gapping down, getting bought up. It looks healthy to me. It's got, I would say our next move on DDOG would be some kind of consolidation. It is following this 10 EMA nicely. However, it is a little bit away from this 50 moving average right here. So it needs to consolidate a little bit more, I would say. I'm trying to see if I find another example where it gets, see here where it gets a little bit away and it just kind of consolidates, chops around. So it might chop around for maybe several weeks or more. But earnings coming up in about 4 weeks on DDOG. And I believe we have, So for those of you who trade this kind of shorter term intraday timeframes, it did get a signal to jump in here, exit here, jump in here at the close, exit here. And so this is the buy and sell signals of some of the strategies that we use in our trading robot, our trading bot, which, by the way, if anyone is interested in signing up for that, we get a lot of questions trying to automate this a little bit more. Automating the sign-up process. reallifetrading.com/bot. There is a video that I posted today. You guys can create a free account if you're interested, and you can connect your brokerage accounts to that and sign for a free account and use. We talk about in this video kind of the basics, how it works, and some of the configuration options. So do that if you haven't. At a minimum, set up a free account, turn it on, and let it watch it trade in a paper trading account for 30 to 60 days. See what you think before committing live capital, before signing up for a premium version. So, yep. Lance, downtrend. Are you talking about on DDOG? So if you look at DDOG on a bigger time frame, I mean, it's been chopping for a while. It does make some new highs, and it just kind of hangs out here in this channel. Now that's a big channel. If you look at it on let's zoom in a little bit. That's a big channel, right? And it does make some highs and chops around a bit, but I don't know that I would say it's a downtrend. It's just kind of chopping around, going sideways. I'm trying to think of do you guys have a recent stock that looks like it's in a downtrend? I don't really spend time on those. Let's look at Lemonade. This is a little bit of a downtrend. It is starting to come alive a little bit, but I guess it also depends on what time frames you're looking at. If you're looking at it like on a shorter time frame, like a 30-minute chart, there's different ways to look at different time frames. But for me, let's go. Yeah, for me, this made a new high and then just never came back there, and it's been chopping around for a while, and that's Lemonade. But yep. Okay, yeah, no worries. Yeah. Jonathan, are you in Amwell? Actually, Fastly is a, yeah, here's a downtrend. You guys see that? Fastly is it's just all over the place. TeleDoc is same thing. Just the thing you can think about and look at is, even if you were to turn all the charts and the moving averages, everything you were to turn off, and you're just to look at like this green boxy area, you'll see that it stair steps higher, right? And it's going higher, higher, higher. Now the stock itself might chop around, but it's still making new highs each time, right? And so if you get to a place where like this, where TeleDoc from about right here, this whole section, where it just goes sideways, it doesn't really make any new highs, and then it makes a new high, and then it goes sideways again. Not only does it go sideways, but it kind of falls off a cliff a little bit, right? And so that's kind of what I'm thinking of. I'm looking at the big picture, and this looks like a T-Rex with the eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and little arms. But sorry, guys. But yeah, that's kind of what I think of when I think of a downtrend. Is it's going, the trend is breaking through the bottom, the floor of these green boxes, which represent certain pullbacks. So if you were to look at the highest close on this, I think would be right here. On this guy right here was the highest close, correct? On TeleDoc, which was 294.54. 294 is the highest close. And we haven't made any new highs above that. Knowing that we, but that price action down to this blue line represents a 10%, oops, 10% pullback. And from that line down to my thick green line, that represents a 25% pullback. So not only is it pulled back that much, but the floor has fallen out, and it's down significantly even more than that. So a good 55%. Even if you're to touch the lows, it's going to be more than that. But that's the idea, and that's what I mean by downtrend. Is it just kind of fell off a cliff, and you could certainly buy down here. There's nothing wrong with tippy-toeing in, pyramiding in. You guys know I have a bunch of TeleDoc, and I got in way too early, and I've been kind of hedging and holding on to it. Not holding on, I would say hodling, holding on for dear life. But you just want to be mindful of that. And because it's way down here, you guys can just look at the chart, and you have to know that it's gonna take some time to get back up to this 300, 310 level. It's not gonna just go up there next week. It's going to be a series of months or longer, many, many months. And so just the normal stock chart movements, you guys know it's going to take some time to get back up there. So all that to say that, if you want to put this in a long-term account, nothing wrong with that, but don't expect us to be hitting new all-time highs, especially when it hasn't been above the 200 simple moving average in months. And the 200 simple moving average, which is my red line here, that just represents long-term support. Long-term moving average, long-term support. And when it breaks below that, if it can't recover just in a matter of a few days like it does here, see, it broke below, closed below, and it was able to recover, close below and recover, close below and doesn't recover. You guys see the difference? Type a 1 into chat pane if you can see the difference. Justin, Jonathan, they see the difference. Yep. Yep. And for those of you who are interested in automation, we will be doing a little more of a presentation on it. But if you're interested, go to this URL. I will put in. Boom. I will put in the chat pane. So Robert's asking, so for you, would you exercise your puts or just sell them for a gain and buy more shares or something like that on, oops, I'm talking about on TeleDoc. Yeah, so I'm kind of torn right now between what to do with it. I need to decide. Earnings is coming up, so my hand's going to be forced very in the next 3 weeks, one way or another, what to do. But I mean, I got a little bit of in the money dollars on the put option right now, but it's not. I don't know. I haven't decided. I obviously could capture that, and but if it goes lower back and retest this low level, I'd rather buy down here. And again, in my long-term account, not in a trading account, just like a IRA or retirement account. But yeah, I'm just thinking, does it go lower, first? And I got to check what my expiration is on these puts anyway. So it's a great question, Robert. And the answer is I have not decided what to do at this point. Yep. So our favorite chip maker, NVIDIA, look at this team. I want to show you our longest trade that the automation that I've seen so far live running. So I want everyone to just imagine you work a full-time job, which shouldn't be hard to imagine for some of you, but imagine working a full-time job and getting signals to buy, sell, and you get alerts on your phone and you're like a little bit worn out, maybe fatigued by, all this buy, sell. And you're like, okay, I've done this strategy, Matt. I lost a couple dollars here and there each time, and I'm just worn out. I'm fatigued, right? And you're like, okay, I'm gonna sit out the next alert. I'm just gonna do nothing because it's probably gonna happen like the rest of the other trades. And it's feasible. Our strategy says to buy right here at the close of this, which would be 381.52. So if you want to spend $5,000, that's what the strategy would say. If you want to spend $10,000, you want to buy as many shares as you can at this level. And then you do nothing, and you'll see this is what happens. And it literally held this and exited this week. I think it was for 6 weeks. And look at that, went out of it. This is NVIDIA, ladies and gentlemen. And as long as we have a green shaded area, we're going to remain in the trade because the trend is bullish or bearish. Type in the chat pane, bullish or bearish. It's bullish, right? So green shaded area, we're going to stick with the trade. There's plenty of opportunities like right here where if you were manually trading that, you would have seen a little bit of a sharp sell-off, right, down to some of this other level where it bounced before. And most of you would lock in a profit, but your emotions taking over prevent you from getting all of this that would have also happened if you would have just let the trade play out as the strategy calls for. And so boom, there we go on, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday morning, we got an exit signal and we exited here. So around 804. So we went from, team, what is the gainage on this? You bought in at, let's say, 581, you exited at 804. That's some gainage. And imagine doing that and just sitting on this $223 a share. How many of you guys have ever made $223 a share with a trading robot? It doesn't matter whether you have 1 share or 20 shares or 2,000 shares. How many of you guys have ever done that? It's quite remarkable that they'd even occurred. Now, if you got fatigued and got chopped up during this part, you would have never been in a position to let this happen. And that brings me to my point about automation is consistency. It will take every single trade, whether or not you're feeling it, whether or not you want to take another trade, whether or not you're in the mood to take on more risk. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, $223 a share. Jonathan Wade says Riot is the best automated Momo trade ever had. Nice. Do you remember how many dollars you got on that? And was that in percentage, Jonathan, or on just dollars? John Saxon says, I just trailed out 5 R's and NVIDIA plan was to get out by split and to get back in on pullback. Yeah. The split is coming up in about a week and a half on the 20th. So that's a week from Wednesday. Yep. Yeah. And no one really knows, like a lot of people assume because it's split, it's quote unquote cheaper, but they're just cutting the pie into more pieces. So the split happens here, July 20th. And I kind of treat it like earnings. You don't really know what's going to happen. A lot of times they have a run up because just people buy it, assuming it's going to automatically make more money. Same thing kind of happened with Trade Desk, same type of thing. Made this run up ahead of the split, and both solid companies, and that was NVIDIA. Jonathan saying percentage and dollars. Let's take a look at Riot. All righty. I'm guessing back here in early February, Jonathan. Is that what it was? Yeah. So this is what Jonathan's talking. Oh, the blockchain. Yeah. Okay. So buy here and look at this ride. And then it gave you the signal to exit over here. It did have pretty violent pullback. So you gave back some gains, but yeah, it went from $20, $21 to 52, give or take. So yeah, more than doubled. I did hit some highs up here, but the automation, you don't really know what's going to happen if it continues higher in some kind of a consolidation like this. Is it going to continue higher? Is it going to roll over? And you don't really know. You just have to follow the signals and react the way you see. Yep. 150% gain. It was up as much as 280. Yeah. Got it in your largest account. Well done. Very nice. Very, very nice. Congratulations. So Tesla RLT is one of our favorite stocks to trade. Still a little bit of a struggle bus on this. It is, I do like this right here, which it's finally holding above the 200 simple moving average. As you guys know, throughout the month of May and June, it just chopped above, below, above, below, above, below. And then hit its head on this 100 simple moving average, 100 simple moving average, bounced off the 200 and continue. I think it's ready for a little bit of a higher move. And again, you guys remember me saying this just a few minutes ago. When it consolidates, it does tend to punch you in the face and make a new low before it makes a high. So don't get tricked out. Just be mindful of that. Maybe think about how you want to set up that a trade like that. It did finally fill the gap this week that was here that it made back a few weeks ago on Tesla. And I do have some shares on Tesla. So I am bullish on Tesla. I think this is a good spot in general area to pick up a few shares. All-time highs was back here in late January on Tesla. But yeah, it did hold the 50 moving average too. See that it never closed. I'm sorry, it's yet to close above the. So we might get our signal to enter on Monday. So today closed below our blue line, but the next day, maybe Monday, it'll close above. It'll give us another signal to get into Tesla. CrowdStrike consolidating. A lot of these are looking similar. It did make a little bit of a high and it's kind of holding there. I think it might go back down, just like I've said with some of these other stocks. I do have, this is one of my other positions that I think I have like a 12R gain in this on this one, but yeah, be bullish. You guys see a couple of signals that we got here back in early June to get in to CrowdStrike. Nothing to do here. If you're not in, don't buy at this level. You want to wait for a signal to get in. You don't want to just jump in. You want to be patient and let the trades come to you. If we were to look at, let's look at the long-term moving averages. Yeah. Okay. Yep. You guys can see when the rest of the world was panicking and freaking out, some of us were slowly buying. See that? Got some shares. And even though I got 60%, I'm still up some nice R's. And I plan to hold on these for a little while. So nothing to do here on CrowdStrike. I guess this was Tuesday was all-time highs, close of all, no, sorry. This is a highest close, so Wednesday. Nothing to do there. Peeling off a little bit of profits. If you are in CrowdStrike, congratulations. I plan to hold. I'm holding it. Mongo database looks like some of these others were consolidating, makes a new low before it makes a run higher. Yeah, looks solid. Nothing. I don't see anything to do there unless you wanted to play this candle right here, which would be our indecision candle. And our indecision candle is not quite a perfect high wave candle, but looks like a decent way to set up a trade. I have shares of this inside of my right here. Mongo database up a little bit, up some R's, a few dollars. Mongo database, but yeah, the idea here would be to use like a stop limit order if you wanted to. Today would not have triggered that, but if you want to use a stop limit order up here with the stop down here, I should probably put it down a little bit more, something like that, and I would play this bullish stop limit. I'm sorry, stop limit order here to enter, but only if it goes higher first, and then a stop market order down here. Next up is Peloton. Peloton, I've had a love-hate with this thing the past few weeks. We did score a nice 2.77 R on this move right here on Peloton last week, week and a half ago. So congrats to those of you who got into it. It happened really quickly. I mean, we got in here, we put in our orders, and it gapped down, which filled our limit orders at a lower price than we could have got otherwise. And then just look at this, just moon Lambo. And so that happened really, really quickly, and we took our profits around 126 up here. So yep, and then it's got in, got out, chopped in, chopped around a little bit more. So that's Peloton. And I do like the actual hardware itself. As you guys know, I'm a Peloton user myself. I love it. I put in about 45 minutes a day on that thing. I just love it. And it's a super great exercise. Next is OKTA. OKTA is holding this 200 some moving average, and our moving averages are they are a little bit inverted, not the end of the world. Oops. Let's see. So this is giving us one thing you could do if you wanted to, is wait for a little bit more of a pullback. Something like this, where you're going to look for a limit buy, something like that, maybe. You could do that, or something like this. This would be a little more aggressive. But yeah, it looks like it triggered our buy last week. And with some of the drama that happened a little bit in the markets yesterday, if you didn't get in, you could have had open order waiting. However, if you're not in already, that's one way to do it. Or you could do it like this, I guess, kind of $10 a risk, give or take. Swing trade sheet has 253 plus stop limit buy. Oh, so up here. Yeah, you could do that too. Kind of waiting for a little bit of a breakout. Let's take a look at that. What does that look like? OKTA 2. Are you talking about Ricky's trade on OKTA? I see 250 by 240. 250 by 240 is what he has in there. So something like this. Yep, see Robin. 250 by 240. Oops, 240. something like that. Yeah. I could get into that. Obviously, you want to buy as low as possible, but yeah, that works. This obviously assumes a little bit less of a pullback than what I was suggesting, but that's definitely a couple ways to do that. Yep. And then we did touch on FSLY and TWLO. I'm doing nothing there at this point on these guys. I'm just going to hodl, hold on for dear life. I'm going to have my double ply diamond here, my super clear diamond hands on these. These just look like they just fell off a cliff. That's really all there's to it. And you guys can see the when you have when it closes below the 200 moving average, it doesn't get back up. It just dumpster fire. That's it, just dumpster fire. One other stock that I'm liking a lot is this net. And let's look at this last one real quick, which is Cloudflare. I do like this. You guys see here, their sales 51% on the quarter. I like this is just, I don't know. I have a hard time with that. Robert, would you pay 70 times their revenue? I just have a hard time with that. Ideally, you'd want that somewhere between 10 and 20, but some of these tech companies just go for ridiculous valuations, especially companies like Shopify and others that are like leaders. They kind of lead their industry, right? For their, not just software, but for their specialized industry, like in this case would be e-commerce software. So 54 times revenue is is up there for valuation. So what does that compare to FSLY, net versus FSLY? Jonathan, that's a great question. I will show you guys a little trick where you can do a side-by-side comparison. Oops, you can type two tickers up here, compare them side by side. I have them set up. There you go. FSLY and net. And we have our sales comparison. Boom. FSLY is still a little, even though it's down so much, still a little bit high, but these numbers will turn red anything over 10. So anything greater than a 10, you'll see populated here in red. So you guys want me here? Let me type in a few more stocks. You guys can see how this works. Let's put in TeleDoc. Let's put in what are some others we can get there in here? Cloudflare, ROKU, and Mongo. You guys can see how that works. See, it's all, but it's all based on the sales quarter over quarter. This, it's almost like this number consistently, obviously this is the most recent quarter, but this number will give you an idea of that, right? So if we were to put Shopify in here as well, I thought I had that in there. Shopify, where's Shopify? There you go, 53. So the ones with the higher percentages typically have higher price earnings, but this is telling us that according to this, if you just sort it by this, TeleDoc and FSLY are good buys. Don't expect them to just rocket tomorrow, but I'm actually in every single one of these except net right now. So yeah, team, that's all I have for you. Any last questions for me? Otherwise, hit me with whatever stocks you would like us to review on Monday. And we'll jump through and we'll review those for you. Yep. Yeah, thanks, gang. Have a good weekend. Hit me with your stocks and let's do that. Okay, so we're gonna start with Shopify, Alibaba, and Baidu. And then let's look at Lemonade again, LVS, Salesforce. Yeah, thanks, Rhea. Have a great one. GAN. Okay, got it. What else? You guys have to have more stocks than just 3 or 4, right? Maybe not. Cool. All right. Well, I got these. I got this list. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon. And don't forget to love life, live life, and trade it. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Good night.